Hi, and welcome to Inside Athletics. I'm your host, Brandon Thomas, and joining me today is Coach Stephanie Salikas and Emilia Matthews. Coach Salikas, you're the head coach of the cross country and the track team. Just kind of tell me how you handle all of that.
You know, it's a busy year, but all of us who've been in the sport, we've done it our whole lives. I think Maya, all she knows is track and field, just like all I know is cross country and track and field. So managing the year, I mean, we just take it month by month, and it all builds on itself. And indoor is an exciting short season for us, and we're loving it.
Well, Coach, you talk about indoor being an exciting season. You've already had two meets, one at the LSU Purple Meet, and then the last one this weekend at McNeese. Kind of talk about the performance overall of the team and just where you see yourselves going further.
Yeah, I mean, January is a big work month for us. We all come back to campus and we're training really hard and getting a couple races in to get the rust off. But I mean, Amaya's sitting here because the biggest highlight of January was Amaya's multi-meet. You know, her and Coach B went up to Samford, his old stomping grounds, for a big multis meet, chasing down the school record, which Amaya got, along with several all-time marks so far in her individual events for the season. So that's the big highlight of January, and we're going to run fast in February and have a good championship.
Well, that's great, Coach. Well, Coach, you coach the women and the men's team, so you have to keep track of everybody in terms of their performances and their progress and stuff like that. Just talk about the small things that you do and the importance of having a support system and assistant coaches to help keep track of.
Yeah, I mean, you started, building a culture is the important part, and then, you know, Amaya has been here for two of the assistants I've had, and now Coach B, you know, is the third assistant that's worked with me here for the multi-event group, right? Sprint, hurdles, and jumps. Part of that is just building that culture, recruiting the right student athletes in, and then you hire great people. You know, I was really excited to hire Austin Billings. Amaya was thrilled, and the relationship has gone really well, and we're seeing that. And I think we're going to keep seeing more from that event group. We had some great 400s this weekend too at McNeese. I like to print off the rankings every week and put them up on the bulletin board because we now have a locker room in Barker and a bulletin board, and we also have a whiteboard. We write the all-time marks from the weekend, and those get eventually put on the website. But just building some momentum, and we're accomplishing some great things.
Wow, that's great to hear, Coach, that, you know, even with the expansion of the athletic department as a whole, with the Brookfield Athletic Facility now opening up space in Barker for y'all to have a home, you know, to be able to develop that locker room kind of culture with everybody. You know, I know traveling and different things, you have a chance to do it, but with that being a home to do that is great. Coach.
And Amaya painted the locker room. She painted lockers. Amaya does everything.
Yeah, home improvement too.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Kind of transitioning into some of the off the track stuff, kind of the student athlete kind of mixture. Elsa Ripstra.
Ripstra, you got it. From
Ripstra.
the Netherlands.
I've been working on that.
Yeah.
Ripstra. She was named Southland All Academic. Just talk about outside of the track and off of the training, how that is to have a student like athlete just perform well on the track and in the classroom.
You know, academics is the foundation, right? We talked about building a culture. We talked about that in the recruitment process. That's why Amaya's here, and part of that culture that we have where, we want to be excellent at everything we do, right? And we hope as coaches to not only have them excel athletically, but to build a strong foundation in what they're going to do for the rest of their lives, right? So we talk about not just passing our classes, but really enjoying what we're studying, taking advantage of the clubs and organizations that are here just like other students would, right? And really growing in their academia so that they graduate and go on to graduate school or medical school, law school, or just start working in their field and know what they're talking about and are passionate about the field they're going to be in. Just like we're passionate as college coaches, right? We want them to have the same passion for whatever they do.
Yes, ma'am. Superstar. Transitioning over to you. So,
Yes.
Here we have Emilia Matthews, I'm sorry.
Right,
Amaya, I'm sorry. Emilia Matthews.
It's
I've been
okay.
working on this all day. Emilia Matthews. You're from Humble, Texas,
Yes.
and you're a do-it-all
You can
on
say
the
that.
track. So kind of tell the people about the different events that you compete in, the pentathlon and the heptathlon, and how you manage all of this.
All right. Okay, so for the indoor, I compete in the pentathlon. So it starts off with the 100 hurdles. You get 30-minute break in between each one minimum. So I go from 100 hurdles to high jump, from high jump to shot put to long, and then long straight to the 800. And then it's pretty hectic.
Yeah.
I feel like the multi is like very real mental thing. Like it's all mental. Like I feel like I have the attitude for it, the mentality for it, because I feel like if you're not positive going into it, you're not getting the results you want. So with me having my attitude that I have, I think it's very good. It's a big part of my performance. Especially for the heptathlon that's outdoors, it's 7 events. The addition to it is the 200 javelin and the javelin, right? Yeah, the 200 and the javelin. And then I have a day break, so it's like the first day I compete 100 hurdles, high jump. What is it? Hurdle, high jump.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It is.
She does 4, and then she does 3 more, and
Right.
then she
Right.
might high jump in the open high jump, or run on the relay,
Or
right?
on the 60 hurdles.
Or the
Since
60
I'm
hurdles,
right.
yeah.
I do a lot.
Yeah, I see that. So
Time consuming.
That was
How
an
do-
humble brag. You got that? Okay.
how do you keep track of all this? Like, how do you keep track of conditioning your body to handle all of this work, this whole workload?
Okay, so like during this year we had Hurricane Ida, which took off a month of training, and that's really crucial because you need every time you can to train for it. So like during the break, when we had that break, I went and trained like, what's the word? Distance training. Like I went run miles, not the short stuff, to get my endurance up for the 800 because that's where most of my points come from, is the 8. Staying on top of technical stuff because everything I do is very technical, rhythmic, and everything. And then we came back from Hurricane Ida, 3 weeks, and then back on break, and then next thing you know, we up and competing. So it was like I really had to train. There was no sitting down for me at all. Like I had to train through everything. It was really hard.
So walk me through meet days for you. Walk me through your routine of getting ready to compete in your first event to your last event.
So like I sit down, talk to my teammates about like what my goal is, what their goals is, and then I go out there, warm up, and usually by myself because I'm the only multi here for right now. I go out there, mentally prepare myself like this is what I'm gonna do, this is my goals, and then once I have that set mindset that this is me, this is what I'm gonna do, I go out there and practice, like, because you have to practice before you get out there and perform.
Right.
So I go in there with intense practice before getting on the track, and then not focus on everybody around me, like focus on myself, because the minute you start focusing on everybody else, you lose focus of what your goal is. And then once I get in and compete, just keep going, and then I have those. You got 10 minutes to be with all your emotions. You either be happy for 10 minutes, upset for 10 minutes about how you did. You just got to get over it and move to the next event, and that's how I keep going.
So short-term memory loss is kind of an advantage when it comes to competing.
Yeah.
Coach, going back to you, how do you find somebody like this? What systems? How do you get somebody 2 nickels from Humble, Texas?
Well, I think that Amaya is talking about her coach actually reaching out to us to start. So sometimes that process starts with a high school coach reaching out. When you're looking for a multi-event athlete, Coach Austin Billings does the recruiting for that. I'm more part of the visit, like when they get here, talking about who we are as a whole. A lot of Amaya and I's communication is about how I'm going to support her as a head coach, right? And I take a role. I think, I don't know, what you can tell them what we talk about, I guess. What do we do?
We talk about positive attitude all the time. We have no time for negativity. It doesn't fit into our schedule. You can't be negative on the track team. It's just not. It's not where you want to be. And
so we kind of talk I'm going to be someone that they can go to for academic stuff, for life stuff, having that positive attitude. I kind of think of myself as a leader of the program in the sense of the barometer of positivity, right? So you see I'm pretty positive, I'm upbeat, let's have good energy. But as far as coaching her in the technical events or telling her exactly how we're going to train to do that, I tell her I'm going to hire a great assistant, right? Who you're going to come and train for is the event coach that you have, right? And so, Maya trusted me that if there was ever a change in our event coach that she'd have someone great, which there was in her time, right? She was recruited by one of my assistants and now has a new coach this year, but she just 100% bought in and has embraced that philosophy and following what Coach B tells her to do. And and she's just a positive person. I think that goes a long way when you're asked to do a lot of things, and that's part of the mentality of our program is being able to do multiple things, whether it's running cross country and then coming and running 3K, 5K, 10K like Elsa does, right? But that's what Amaya and Elsa are leaders on our team, right? And that mentality of doing more, right? And you find them by, going out, I guess for an event coach, they're going to go out and look and see how are they doing the events they're doing. If they haven't done a multi in high school, what is her 300 hurdle time or what's her 100 hurdle time or is she jumping, right? And so, within that, as an event coach, you might prefer multis to do certain events, if that makes sense. You want to see a good jumper, maybe you're, a good short sprinter and that you can develop that, right? But obviously you need to know how to hurdle and jump, right? That's where we're getting a lot of the points. And then, you're either coaxing them into the 800, or I think Amaya does a good job of embracing getting more points out of the 800. Even though I think it is like your
toughest,
weakest link, but I mean, she also gets hyped about moving up on the shot put list. I mean, so when you talk about, you know, she's on the all-time list for Nichols in the shot put as well. I joke that she's our best thrower, right? But I mean, I think that's like, you know, find the mentality. So that's a part of it too. So yeah, you're looking for technical things, but if you're going to teach someone to become a multi-event athlete, a huge part of that is the mentality and knowing someone like Emilia who's just like, sure, coach, I'll step up and run the 4x4. This year she's planning to run the 4x4, which I'm just amazed by her, her positive attitude and willingness to always step up for the team and give her all.
Yeah. Coach, that's great. That's great to talk about, just her stepping up to the plate. So Emilia, kind of talk to the people about your records that you broke this weekend.
Not this weekend. I was .05 off my PR in the 600. Sadly, I was going for the record for that too. I'm 5 seconds off, but I still got 2 years left.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 years left, including my 5th year for COVID.
Okay.
Taking it. But not this past weekend, but the weekend before, I broke the school record in the pentathlon, with also PRing in the high jump and the hurdles. And then the meet before that, I PR'd in the hurdles back to back from the semifinals to the finals.
All of that while still being a student.
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's awesome. That is awesome. Coach, just kind of break down, you know, I know Emilia is here and she's like a standout, but kind of break down what goes into, like you kind of alluded to, and encouraging her to keep on pushing. How do you manage this? How do you manage like somebody that can do it all? Do you say relax, or do you say keep going? You know, what kind of?
Well, I really trust my assistant, right? So Coach B and I think we have a good relationship, and he coaches his group. Like that's his group, and so it's interesting when you talk about a track and field team is that, you know, each of us are event coaches, and then there is a head coach of the overall program, right? But we just line up on that culture and that trust, right? So just like our athletes, we ask them to trust their event coach or trust their head coach with their event coach. Like I just have that trust of him to write the program, and sometimes I do throw things out there. So, you know, Coach B's new. I mentioned, hey, what's Emilia doing at the McNeese meet? Like she needs to recover from the multi. I knew that was his number one goal, and originally he was just gonna put her in the long jump, and I said, well, you know, she's not that far off the 600 record, and so he's like, well, let me talk to Emilia about it, and so I let him bring that up to Emilia. So I sometimes like will suggest something like that, but you know, so she took on more, I guess, in that scenario, right? Instead of a rest day, we went out and got some training because her 800 was what Coach B talked about lacking, I think, in the pen, but not lacking in the sense that we have a month. Let's get better. So it's kind of like we got more points on the board. That's how he talks about it. He didn't say lacking. He said, well, we get more points out of the 8. Like I know Emilia can. And that's when I was like, well, what about the 600? Why don't we go chase that record? Like she said, she came up a little bit short, but she knows that it's in the tank now for her 800 to go down a lot. And so yeah, I think you just
it's just
make sure they're okay. I don't know. You asked me originally how do you manage it, but I mean, we just let her be who she is.
Just go.
And like this TV show is like, you know, we want to be able to get on here, and Emilia normally practices during this time, and I just say, well, Coach B, let's find a way, right? Emilia wants to be out here, wants to talk about her program. She's all in, and so I just love that about Emilia, and I love her being a face of our program. So.
We definitely appreciate y'all showing up. Emilia, can you break down the difference between competing in an indoor event and competing in an outdoor event? Like the difference between having a controlled environment and then going in the weather outside.
Okay, so for me growing up in Texas, it's totally different from Louisiana. Louisiana has indoor competitions for their high school. In Texas, it's not a necessary thing. Like you don't have to do it. So I never really competed in indoor for high school. Like I've been running since 7 years old, and I've like competed in indoor like 2-3 times.
Wow.
So freshman year coming in, I was a little nervous. I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? The breathing is like you breathe different. Like the air quality is totally different. Like when you run the 800, you're more out of breath indoor than outdoor. So it's really hard. But I really prefer outdoor more. This is my favorite. I love outdoor. Like I went from 235 in the 800 indoor to 229 outdoor.
Wow.
So
that sounds like a small difference. That's huge. Yeah.
A tenth of a second is huge. Huge difference. But yeah, it's pretty hard going from both indoor outdoor. Yeah.
Well, I know y'all have a lot more training to do. I know y'all probably itching to get back out there. So we'll cut short the time of the interview. I really appreciate y'all for taking time out of y'all's busy schedule to come and talk with us on Inside Athletics. After the break, we'll come back and recap this weekend in athletics.
If you're like me, your workday doesn't stop for you to go back to school. With Nichols Online, it doesn't have to. I work towards my degree on my own time. Plus, I get to learn from experienced faculty without ever going to campus. Log on to Nichols Online now.
I'm back. Here, I'm going to recap this weekend in Nichols Athletics. First off, we have the basketball team. The Colonels went to Houston to take on the Houston Baptist Huskies, and they won 73-61 with Devontae Carter leading all scoring with 21 points. Next, our tennis team showed out this weekend as they dominated Prairie View A&M with their home opener winning 7-0. And finally, wide receiver standout Dejan Dixon showed up and showed out at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. He racked up 131 receiving yards, and he even capped off with a touchdown. Dejan is well known for his athletic prowess with the Colonels throughout the years, setting multiple school records and just showing up and showing out, trying to put his name in eligibility to be drafted into the NFL right there. Great catch. I think he has a real great shot of making it. Dejan is a hard worker. Dejan is incredible on and off the field, and he's just showing up and showing out for the Colonels. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Inside Athletics. I'm your host, Brandon Thomas. Catch you later.